All right, everybody. Hello and good morning. We are here for Stretch 30. We're going to get right into it because we've only got 30 minutes. We're going to accomplish a whole lot here in this 30 minutes. All the way down on your back. Yoga block might come in handy a little bit later. Have it close by if you like. Let's go ahead and come all the way down. All the way down onto your back. And stretch out your legs. We'll be here for just a moment. And let your feet move away from each other. So they're maybe toward the edges of the mat. Let your arms be out directly away from the shoulders. And almost a snow angel type of position where you're letting those arms be away from the body and your feet and legs being away from each other. Feel like you're taking up some space as we get started here. And throughout our 30 minutes of stretching, let's really focus on maintaining our breath rhythm, our breath awareness. Noticing the belly rising as you breathe in. And noticing the belly falling as you breathe out. And just continue that rhythmic breathing as you slowly sweep the arms behind the head, point the toes forward, activate your leg muscles, stretch it out, and bend up your knees, wrap the arms around the legs and pull those knees in. Place one hand onto each knee, move the knees out wide apart. Draw the knees back together, extend your feet up toward the ceiling, feel that nice little stretch on the backs of your legs. As you pull the toes down, away from the ceiling toward the floor, that's going to stretch those calves. Open the legs out into straddle stretch, legs go wide. Draw the legs back together. Bend the knees and land your feet softly on the ground, separating your feet mat width apart. Reach the arms out directly away from the shoulders with the palms facing up. And begin to move your knees right and left. Gentle range of motion for the hips and the low back. Shoulder blades will stay firmly down onto the ground. So the focus of the rotational movement is the lower back, not the upper back. We'll get to that here in the next exercise. Now drop the knees over to the left and turn your head toward the right. And then release and switch sides. Take the knees to the right. Turn your head toward the left. And release back to center. Now, bump your hips a little bit toward the right. So just pick your hips up, bump them slightly to the right edge of the mat, and then drop your knees over to the left. Now take your right hand and bring it over to the left hand so your entire right side is off the ground. And you can use your yoga block under your head if you like. Now take the right arm and reach it back up toward the ceiling, and then reach it all the way over to the other side, back to the start position. And you're going to do that same exact movement. So the right arm reaches back up and bring it over to the left hand, and then reach the right arm up and bring it back over to the right. And then keep going with that same exact movement, noticing that your upper body is doing a lot of movement here. So the entire right side of the body is off the ground when the hands are together. And those shoulder blades return back to the ground as the hand reaches back to the floor. Now do this another 3 or 4 times and just see how much you can lengthen and reach through the arms. Try to increase the length of the movement. And by the way, if that shoulder doesn't come all the way back to the ground, that's okay. You're just finding what range of motion you have available here. Last one. And release. Lift yourself back up. recenter the hips in the back, and then bump the hips to the left, drop the knees to the right. Your left hand comes over to the right hand, and then reach the left arm up and over all the way to the left, or at least as far as you reasonably can, and then keep going with that same movement. Now, another thing you may notice here is that the top knee might lift off the lower knee. That's okay if that happens. If you are looking for a little deeper stretch, try to keep the knees together without that top knee lifting up away from the lower knee. If this stretch is easy for you, then awesome. Just appreciate that you have pretty good range of motion in your thoracic spine. If this is challenging for you, then this might be a good exercise for you to think about just doing on a regular basis, just as one of those 2-minute exercises. So do this for 1 minute to each side. You can do this every day. Let's get a couple more times here. And release it back, recenter your hips. So a couple of nice movements there for the lower back and the upper back. So returning back to your position on the floor, bend up the knees, pull the knees in toward the chest, extend the feet up toward the ceiling, make a few ankle, foot, and toe movements. And we're holding the shins relatively still. They're going to move a little bit, but try to keep your shins relatively still so that the movement happens mostly in the feet. All right. Bend the knees, let the feet come back to the ground, stretch out your left leg onto the mat. Hands wrap around the right knee, pull the right knee toward the right shoulder. Extend your right foot up toward the ceiling. Hold on to the back of the leg. Once again, pull the toes down so you feel the stretch in the calf. Now, I want you to gently pull your leg toward your nose, but not so much that you start to bend the knee. So it's a very small movement. I feel like I'm moving about 1 inch or 2 here. If I move any more than that, I'm going to start to bend the knee. So try to keep the leg straight, and you pull in just ever so slightly to start to get that extra stretch. Hold and breathe. Now, point the toes toward the ceiling, tuck your chin, lift your head and shoulders off the ground, climb your hands higher up your leg, and you might be able to pull that leg gently into a little deeper position. Hold 1 breath. And then with control, ease yourself back down. Head back to the ground and lower that right leg slowly down to the floor. Left leg up. Hands wrap around the left knee first. So let's pull the knee in toward the shoulder. Then take the foot straight up to the ceiling, holding on to the back of the leg. Flex that foot to stretch the calf. Once again, gently pull that leg a 1/2 inch or 1 inch into the stretch without letting the knee bend. Check your breathing. Point the toes, tuck the chin, lift your head and shoulders off the ground, climb your hands higher up your leg. You can pull that leg into a little deeper stretch if you like. And release. Lower your head slowly in control and lower that leg slowly in control all the way down to the floor. Sweep the arms behind the head. Give yourself a full stretch. And release. All right, everybody, awesome start. Rock yourself up. Upright seated position. Block is close by. Use it if you need to. You could sit it underneath your hips, so you just sit right up on top of it like this, if needed, to get a little bit straighter spine. So if you need that, please do so. Hold on to the knees and start to circle. Now, I want you to keep the spine relatively straight here. It's going to perhaps round a little bit, but the idea is to focus this movement on the hips. And if I'm rounding and arcing the back a lot, That's not a bad movement, but then it's more focused on the spine. And right now, I'd like for you to focus a little more on the hips. So chest lifted, spine elongated, and reverse the direction. Stay tall. And release. Stretch out your legs, bounce the knees on the ground. Ankle, foot, and toe movements. Awesome, everybody. All right. Once again, the block underneath you might be a good idea. We're going to bend up the right leg, wrap your hands around the shin, lift the foot off the ground, cross it over so the foot comes onto the opposite side. Now we're going to hold on firmly to this leg that's in front. You're going to use this as a handhold in order to lengthen and lift that spine nice and tall. Now you might feel a stretch over here on that right side glute, especially if you lift up really tall. So I feel like my arms are active, holding me in place, and I'm going to pull the toes of the left foot back and lift tall, hold, breathe. Now, bring the ankle, so the foot comes off the ground, bring the ankle onto your left thigh. And when I say ankle, I don't mean the foot itself. So this would be the foot, and you can see how my ankle is collapsed here because I have the foot on the thigh, but instead slide it over a little so it's actually the ankle or even the shin. So now that foot's in a neutral position. Hold on to the foot and the knee, lift up, lean forward. Lift up, lean forward. So dynamic stretching, we're moving in and out of stretch position. Inhale as you lift up, exhale as you move in. Now keep going with this, find a little rhythm. And one tendency we have here is to jut the head or the chin forward in an attempt to get a little more movement, but that's really a false movement. So keep your head over the shoulder, and it doesn't have to feel like it's a big movement. You might feel this in the left hip, the left glute. You might be feeling this into the right glute is what I meant, the right side, the right glute, the right hip, or you might feel it in the left hamstring, left calf. Now we're going to just as smoothly as we can, we're going to switch to the other side. So lengthen out the leg, bend up the left, cross it over, wrap the hands around the shin, pull it in and lift yourself nice and tall. So the straight leg is active, toes are pointing toward the ceiling, pull it in nice and tight. And then release the ankle, not the foot, the ankle on top of the right thigh. Hold on to the knee and the foot, lift up tall, and begin the dynamic movement forward and back. And remember, if there's any injuries, obviously I can't communicate with you on that individually, so that's up to you, of course. If there's a joint that's uncomfortable, then maybe your move looks a little more like this. Maybe that knee is up higher. Maybe the foot isn't actually crossed. You find creative ways to do the movement without pain in your joints. Dynamic stretching is a very safe way to stretch. We're doing this purposely. Because there's a lot of research around this. What you're doing is letting the movement create the flexibility in your body. Very similar to when you first wake up in the morning, you just start moving around, you start walking around. That's really a way to dynamically stretch. You get yourself wakened up, and movement helps you to start to feel like you're ready for more movement. All right, nicely done. Go ahead and release, stretch out that leg. And From here, again, that block could be underneath you. We're going to take the legs wide into our straddle. Now, I'm super flexible here, and so yours might not look like mine. Yours might look like this. That's perfectly fine, or even the knees bent. Again, block underneath. So again, we're going to dynamically stretch. Get up nice and tall, point the toes toward the ceiling, forward and back. Now, what I'm looking for here is just the nice middle ground. So you go until you feel just a little bit of stretch, and then you come right back out. And before you know it, you're actually coming down quite a bit lower, but it doesn't feel like any more of a stretch because your muscles, ligaments, and tendons are progressively getting stretched. Couple more. And release. Now, come on up, draw the legs in, and bounce the knees. Ankle circles. Take the legs wide, again, into your straddle. Now, I have a couple of options for you here. If your knee feels okay, you're going to bend your left foot in toward the right thigh. If there's no problems here, the foot is all the way against the thigh, your knee is down to the ground, there's absolutely no pain here. If you cannot do this, either because of the hip, the knee, or the ankle, then just go back to the full straddle. That'll work fine, or a partial position, kind of like this. Okay, so do what works well for you here. I'm going to be doing it differently on each side. So on this one, I'm going to be pulling it all the way in, and the right hand slides down the right leg, the left arm reaches up and over. And again, we're going to dynamically do this. So into the side bend and lift, into the side bend and lift. So let that arm have a little bit of movement. And check to make sure you're not collapsing your spine. So you're staying up straight. Again, the block underneath is a great idea, or a blanket. Getting those hips up off the ground is super helpful. Bring your hand behind your head and continue the same movement. Twice more. Last one. And release, switch sides. As I suggested earlier, it might not be the same from side to side. So I'm going to modify this side to help my knee that isn't happy. So I'm going to make sure I keep it happy by modifying it. You do the same if you need to. Or even just a full straddle might actually work better. Okay, let's begin. Again, trying to get nice movement through that top arm. All this dynamic stretching work should feel quite good. It shouldn't feel like this miserable, oh my gosh, I can't stand this thing. It's movement. We all love movement. So let the movement be combined with a little stretch sensation. It's going to really increase your mobility, health of the joints. All right, let's bring the hand behind the head and finish up with 3 or 4 more. Try to keep that elbow pulled back. I'll give you a little stretch, perhaps through the chest. All right, everybody, fantastic. Draw the legs in, bounce out the knees, ankle circles, and come on up into tabletop position. Feel free to use cushioning underneath the knees if you need it, and widen the knees to the edges of the mat. Let's start with our hip circles. So you know this is one of my favorite movements. It's dynamic again. You're moving through a range of motion. We're rounding and arcing the low back, not the upper back. It's going to stay relatively stationary. So it's that hula hoop movement, meaning that you're circling, but you're also, if you only circled your hips, your hula hoop wouldn't circle, you wouldn't stay on you. So let's reverse the direction. So you're getting the rounding and arcing, the Elvis pelvis kind of movement along with the circles. Elvis pelvis. That's a good one. All right, awesome. Back to center and walk the knees in and move your tabletop up to the front of your mat. So the knees are close. You can drop to the elbows if your wrists don't like this. Reach the right foot back, toes on the ground, push back into your calf stretch. Now this one we are going to hold for about 5 breaths. Try to look up and pull your belly in so you're lengthened through the spine. One more breath. And release and switch sides. Now, one thing about this is if you're in socks or shoes, well, socks in particular, you may have some slippage in your foot, which is not going to be ideal for this stretch. It also kind of depends on your surface. Ideally, bare feet on a sticky yoga mat is going to be ideal. I really feel like my foot is not moving at all, and I really can push back and get a great stretch. All right, go ahead and release and bring it back in. Now you can recenter yourself on your mat a bit. We're going to walk the hands toward the right, and you're going to find any way you can to lunge the left leg forwards. Even if you need to use the left hand, lug that foot up there into a lunge position. Once you've got the foot up, rise the hands up onto the front knee. And again, a knee pad might be really helpful here. Now there is a little bit of balance here, so this is a great exercise, multitasking. Walk the front foot forward a little. Notice how my ankle is slightly in front of the knee. Now I'm going to move into the ankle. So the knee moves over the ankle. I'm going to start with very small movements. If your knee is compromised, then you're going to keep with these very teeny little pulses. So I want you to find some form of the exercise that you can do. And if your joints feel okay, then I want you to be a little more active here. So you can start to lean further forward and notice here, well, you don't have to look up, but just think about your knee coming more over the toes rather than just over the ankle. So now, if it feels okay, you're getting much further forward. And you might be feeling a stretch in the hip flexor of the back leg. At least that's where I feel it for sure. This is a great strength exercise as well. If you would like a little additional challenge for the last 5 reps, you can take the arms overhead. Totally optional. Last 3. Keep that belly pulled in. All right. Bring the hands down. Swing the front leg back. And switch sides. Any way you can, get up into that lunge. I know it's not necessarily easy for everybody, so find a way to get there. And rise the hands to the front knee. Make sure the foot is in front of the ankle. And then little movements to start. Knee over the ankle. If everything feels okay, starting to work the knee over the toes. So you find ways to really get that knee to come forward. As I said, this is really multitasking. This is a great exercise because there's a little bit of balance. There's certainly the mobility work, but there's also strength work here. So feel how much that front leg is working to hold you in place as you come way forward, and then to push you back into the second position. And then keep the hands on the knee, or if you want additional challenge for the last 5, raise the hands overhead. Last one. And release, hands down, swing the leg back into tabletop position. And widen the knees, and take your hips back either halfway to the heels like I've done here, or you can go all the way back if your knees are okay. Ideally, the forehead would be on the mat, or you could bring your hands under the forehead. I prefer for you to rest your head if you can, even the yoga block. And we'll be here a short time, but just see if you can let your hips move back any amount, assuming this doesn't hurt the knees. Otherwise, go back halfway. And release. Come on up. And back into our tabletop position. Now we're going to curl the toes under, and we're going to lift up into downward facing dog, hips up high. So we're not going to hold this very long. I know it's a really challenging position, but it's such a great way to stretch out the legs. So start to bend and straighten your legs. And let's hold here. 5. Keep bending and straightening the legs. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower the knees back to the ground and lift the hands off the ground into upright kneeling position. Raise the hands up overhead. Look all the way up to the hands, stretch it out, and release the hands by your sides. Roll out the shoulders. Big, full circles. Reverse the direction. Good. Now, any way you can, come up to standing. If you would like to do that through downward dog, you can. Otherwise, if this doesn't work for you, however, you can get up onto your feet all the way to standing and then reach the hands up high. Stretch it out, look up, and release the hands down. Good work, everybody. Just a few minutes left, and it feels so good to get this work done here this morning. Take the legs wide. We're going to take the right arm, and we're going to reach it up and over. Left arm, up and over. So I love this feeling of whole body stretching. I can feel this in my hips and my hamstrings. I can feel this in my chest, my ribs, my shoulders. Now, you might find that you can widen the feet another 1/4 inch on each side and then go again. Now start to bring the opposite hand behind. A little more shoulder mobility. Lengthen. Reach. Twice more. And back to center. Walk the feet in and give your feet a little shake out. Bring your feet a little wider than the hips, but not a full straddle. Breathing in, take the arms up high, cross the arms, lower the hands, cross the arms. Raise up, cross, lower, cross. Now, start to lower down further if your back feels okay, reaching toward the ground. If your back doesn't feel okay with that, then only go down partially. You can just do it a little ways down, like this. But preferably, reach down, get as low as you can. And another thing you can do if your back is a little uncomfortable with this is to bend the knees more. So our backs are not fragile. Our backs are incredibly strong. If we have a little injury, we might have to protect a little, but I really want to encourage you to move your spine. Look up, add to the range of motion. 3 more. 2 more. Last one. And release. Beautiful. So good to move around that spine. Shake out the arms. Move the head and neck around. And feet are going to stay in the same position, slightly wider than the hips. Start to swing side to side. If the shoulders don't care for this, you know the answer, you know the solution. Little teeny movement. Don't sit the exercise out. find a way to make it work. If there's no pain, then fuller rotations, and those arms are flopping. They're flying through the air. Your arms and hands are flopping against your body because they're completely loose and free to move. Couple more. And back to center. Walk the feet in, hip width apart. Raise the right arm up. Reach up, get nice and tall, like you're going to touch your ceiling. Go up, 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 up. Feel like you're decompressing the spine. Look forward, bring the hand behind the head or the neck or onto the upper back. Left hand comes over onto the elbow. Pull that arm back. Lift and lengthen. Maybe look up and release. Left arm up. Reach up to the ceiling. Get tall. Way up, way up, way up. And look forward, hand behind the back. Right hand onto the elbow. Pull the arm back. Look up, arc the spine. One more breath, stretch it out. And release. And scoot the feet out a little wider again. Pull the arms back. And then interlace the fingers behind the back. Grasp a hold of the hands. Slide the hands down your back. Arc the spine, look up. Squeeze your glutes. Look forward. And forward fold. Part way down, maybe halfway. Or lower the head all the way down. Rise back up. Pull the belly in, squeeze the glutes, look up toward the ceiling. Lower down halfway or all the way. Last one, lift up, arc the spine, and release. Down you go. And release, arms up high. Lower the arms halfway down, twist to the right. Twist to the left. Back to center. Side bend to the right. Side bend to the left. Back to center. Roll the shoulders. And turn the head to the right. Turn the head to the left. Back to center, tilt the ear toward the shoulder. Other side. Back to center. 30 minutes, just a little bit more than 30 minutes, but we are all done for the day. Nice job with your stretching. Didn't this feel great? I'm so glad you joined me. I'll look forward to seeing you again next time. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye for now.